Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Socratic Dialogue. And the topic for this week's Socratic Dialogue is how you, as a young COO, would encourage or promote productivity as a way of life in your organization, it as a culture in your organization or company. So, based on this topic, we'll be having today's discussion. So, which team would like to go first?
Yes, we like to go first.
Sure. But before you start, can you explain the reason behind naming your team?
So we name our team as Team Flow Makers because we build system and cultures that put people into flow rather than burnout.
Okay, great. So before you begin your presentation, can we have a short 1 minute summary of your presentation?
Sure. So productivity isn't something we run after. It's just part of how we work every day. So when people feel safe, work with clear purpose and take time to reflect, they don't just get things done, but they also grow and improve together.
Great. So now we can proceed with the presentation. So you can start with the presentation, Team Flow Makers, keeping in mind the time limit of 3 minutes.
So productivity is not just about getting things done, but it's also about doing things with purpose and taking time to think about how we work. So when we treat being productive as a natural part of how we live and work, we stay more focused, involved, and have a bigger difference, both for ourselves and also for team. Moving forward, we want to create a place where people understand why their work matters, feel safe to try new things and new ideas, and they should take time to look back on what they have done. So work can be steady rhythm when it is planned and thoughtful, and there is a space to adjust as we go. So people know what's more important, and so they don't rush and don't feel very stressful. Over to you, Sachin.
So now, to identify the systemic barrier, we need to know the barrier of this culture. So the main barrier of these cultures are urgency, lack of clear priorities, and fear of failure. And what are the impacts? Burnout, misalignment, and wasted effort. So, who are the main key stakeholder of this? Leaders, managers, and employees. So, how they can model the mindset? So, leaders set the tone through clarity, safety, and reflection, and managers can empower teams to adopt these practices. Now, Nandita.
Yes, so the rituals not only support team alignments but also foster a culture of reflection and responsiveness. By partnering with CFOs, we ensure that these cultural shifts align with the financial health, creating an impact that is both human and measurable. Moving to the next slide. Measure and adapt, right? So by tracking progress, we stay connected to how people are feeling and performing. And what we observe is encouraging. The impact is meaningful and contributes positively to business outcomes. So moving to the next slide, the conclusion. Ultimately, when culture is built intentionally with psychological safety and regular reflection, growth becomes sustainable, innovation flourishes, and productivity follows naturally, not as a forced output, but as a lived experience.
Thank you, Team Flow Makers. Over to Team Neuroflow to ask their questions.
I would like to ask a question. How does productivity drives engagement?
So I can answer that. So as we mentioned in our topics, so we are going with reflections, communications, you know. So when that happen, productivity foster. And when people communicate with each other, they can create a sense of inclusivity and, a less stress. So in this way, it can impact.
Does this answer your question, Amishri?
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions?
Yes, I have.
Sure.
How to identify how to identify which work is important and which work is not important?
So to identify which work is important or not, the most important thing is to having an insight of like what we are doing, why we are doing. So in short, we have to plan things with our team. So when we do plan things, we get to see what are the works which we have to do, and in that way we can prioritize like by communicating with the teams and team leads and prioritize which work is important and which is not.
Does this answer your question?
Yes. And I have one more question. What is the
Sure.
meaning of the ritual?
So yeah, so meaning of the ritual is like reflections for what we do. So rituals can be, for example, we can a daily planning can be a ritual of daily planning, and the reflection, suppose weekly reflections or bi-weekly reflections, can also be considered as a ritual.
No, I ask about the what is the meaning of rituals?
Name of
Ritual.
rituals?
Sorry. Yeah, you just come across in a one slide. You are just saying that ritual
Okay,
of the work.
rituals. Yeah, rituals as in we are trying to focus on reflection and building the culture. So ritual is just a word we are or term we are using to basically tell you about
So you are making the reflection like a rituals in our organization.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Do any of you guys have any follow-up questions?
I would like to ask another question.
Sure, Anushree.
So it was mentioned that by tracking the progress, we can track the productivity. So what can be ways that we can track those progress?
So we can have like weekly reviews, monthly reviews, which can help us understand what is the progress that is being made by this culture we are trying to implement. So that is one of the ways we can gather data and analyze.
And you just mentioned about the pulse rate something. And how you get the right pulse rate मतलब according to the work. मतलब how do you identify the pulse rate? मतलब how do you link the pulse rate with work?
So
First,
your pulse rate here means regular checking. Okay, so it's not the pulse. So we can have a regular check-in where we understand like what were the plannings, what bottlenecks we had, is the work is going in the same way which we planned. Okay, so and we can daily check-ins, and we can also like check for the employee and ask, are they feeling burnout? Okay, are they feeling any issue? Are they feeling inclusive or exclusive? So in this way, we can do the pulse rate. Yeah.
Does this answer your question?
Yes.
How will you identify the burnouts?
so we would try to assign, certain like we have a team, right? So managers would be there who would be continuously, kind of working with them. They would give some feedback. The peers would give some feedback around the person, and the person himself would give some, input. So we can identify by these inputs.
Suppose if the person doesn't reach out to you by himself, so in what way will you identify them?
I think it will show like in his work as well if it is not as early identified, but we would try to identify it as early as possible.
No, but in what way will you identify this? What will be the approach in which you know that it's a burnout stage or something else?
So as I mentioned, we have like these rituals, right? Daily rituals. So 15 minutes, they would be talking about what is their work and, like some these kind of things, what are the reflections. So during this 15 minutes data that we have, we can identify what is going wrong or what is going right with the person. And also weekly, we have the review. So they can also help us identify whether the person is in the right, or we can say, in the best condition.
Does this answer your question, Sarvik?
Yes. I have one more question.
Sure.
In one slide, you mentioned CFO's role. Can you please elaborate that? What exactly is CFO's role in this cultural shift?
Yeah, so we are trying to integrate this culture, with the financial or the business aspect, right? We don't want just culture only and no financial aspect, or we can say, how will the business grow? So we will try to implement this system or integrate this system with the plannings and with the, like what we can say, with the goals of the team. Like it will be integrated together so that it doesn't comes out like a different thing, and it can help them, help the business grow as well.
So, what is CFO's role in this?
So CFO can see the growth of the business. If like, suppose we are working on a particular project or something. So how it is like growing or not. If it is not growing, then we can, in the reflections, or, we can get to know what is the problem, like what are the bottlenecks and all, and then we can work on it.
Does this answer your question, Satvik?
Okay. I'm just still not getting key. What what is basically CFO in this cultural shift doing? I'm just not getting able to link that.
CFO is basically managing or measuring or tracking the financial, stuff, which shows whether this culture that we are trying to build is actually producing better outputs financially or not. So that is where the CFO can, contribute.
Is it making sense now, Satvik?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. In the interest of time, let's move ahead. So thank you so much, Team Flowmakers, for your presentation. Now over to Team Neuroflow for their presentation. But before you begin your presentation, we would like to know the reason behind naming your team as Neuroflow.
Yeah, Neuroflow is it is a tool that integrates brain science and workflow operations to increase the productivity without burning out.
Great, great. So before you begin the presentation, let's have a 1 minute summary of your presentation.
Yeah. Productivity as a lifestyle, it not only means how much work we done, it means how we are using our time and energy in efficient way. So our tool will help us to use our time as well as energy in an efficient way without burning out.
Okay, great. So Team Neuroflow, you can begin with your presentation in your time. Keeping in mind the time limit of 3 minutes.
Okay. So whenever we hear the word productivity, we often think of how many tasks we done, how many time we invested, how many calls we made over end of the day or end of the week. But as a productivity, as a way of life, we should focus on how impactful our work was and how relevant our work is, how prioritized our work is, and how efficiently and smartly we are using our energy level as well as our time. And our Neuroflow is a tool that tracks our energy, our calendar to identify the prioritizing tasks and relevance of the task at a particular situation, and it suggests the best time for doing deep work, for doing meetings, and when we have to take a break like that. So it always checks on whether we are aligning with the bigger goals as well as reducing stress, and also it helps to prevent burnout in a high performance environment.
Let's talk about the what was the systematic we always follow the traditional way of the work do other approach to do better, or we can use another idea or unique way to implement the better. And how can we overcome these things by the help of the approach help of the stakeholder of the company by through the focus of planning, prioritization, encouragement, reflection, and reinforcement and good habits also allow the innovations. Over to you, Arushi.
Let's talk about the design intervention of Neuroflow OS. It basically shifts the financial decision making to a real time behavior driven process. By using financial awareness into daily rituals, we can make smarter decisions. Also, by using intelligent nudges and reflections, we can ensure that the team is aligned with the top priorities and we are not just executing the quick decisions. Moving forward to measuring the impacts, we measure productivity culture through behavioral signals, not just by the hours that a person has worked. We measure that are people reflecting on their work? Are they aligned to the team goals? Are they reactive to the things? And mainly if their daily check ins are regular, and we can check that from a custom reactivity index. We can also use monthly reviews to see what's working and refine our strategies to keep improving. Concluding our topic, Neuroflow OS is all about working with intention and alignment. This can be done by making reflections, suggestions, and data driven insights part of our daily life. It's about smart and scalable execution and not just about hustle and productivity. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Neuroflow. Over to Team Flowmakers for their questions.
I have a question. So, what is the role of AI in reducing task and like aligning the task and reducing the stress?
It actually analyzes our workflow. What are the work we are doing, and when is our energy is high? Some people energy is high on morning, some people on evening. So it over a period of time or a week, it will analyze the pattern and suggest like for this time will be perfect for doing this task. Some tasks may be creative, some tasks may be mundane. So it based on that, our AI will give suggestion.
Adding on to this, it will also provide us with nudges and questions that if we are aligned to our priorities, if the work that we are doing is flowing in the right direction or we are wasting our energies. By asking such questions, it will help us to know that if we are contributing in the right way or not.
Do you have any follow-up question, Team Flowmakers?
How are you like taking the data for, are they getting burnout or, they are doing their work, prioritizing and all?
We are collecting data in multiple ways. Starting with the our tool will be integrated into the system now, so it will be monitoring our working tools, like whatever we are working, Excel, Chrome, or whatever the tools we are using in system. It will monitor that. That is primary, and other than that, it also uses our camera. That is optional. For a privacy reason, if the user is not comfortable, they can switch it off. And also it uses our cursor, how our typing speed in keyboard, and how fast we are completing the tasks, all of those things.
Based on these things, we can analyze that when the person is getting distracted, when he is not getting involved in the work, and that can help us realize that a person is having burnouts or feeling tired and is not feeling good to continue a task.
Does this answer your question, Team Flowmakers?
Mm.
Any other questions to Team Neuroflow?
Okay, as a CEO, how would
Yes.
you? Yes, Nandita.
No, I wanted to know that why being busy is misinterpreted as being effective. As you guys mentioned in the
We are
slide, systematic, right?
No, we are not saying that being busy is equated with a good work. We are just saying we just execute the work in a right way to use the new or creative ideas for the good work.
Does this answer your question, Nandita?
Yes.
Okay, Team Flowmakers, do you have any more questions to Team Neuroflow?
Yes, so as a
Sure.
COO, how do you make sure that this culture or this review system or all this system or tools that you are working with gets integrated not only systematically but psychologically as well with the people?
Can you repeat the question? Psychologically, in the sense?
Psychologically, in the sense that people would find it difficult, right, to have their cameras or have their cursor or these private things being tracked, we can say. So how do you incorporate that, that doesn't happen with those people?
Yeah, we have standard privacy policies that our data won't be shared with any other third-party people. Keeping that aside, camera is optional, but other things like it won't, our tool won't scan the content of our system or tool we are working. It will only see our energy level and how fast and frequently we are doing the tasks like that. So that too won't affect the privacy, I hope.
It will see our energy level, but then how do we make sure that the energy which is being spent is not on some random thing?
Yeah, that is why our whatever the task we have, we will be managing our tasks either in Notion, Slack, or email or whatever calendar we have. So it will compare our work plan with that of the tools we are using.
Does that answer your question, Sandeep?
Yes, but I have a question again.
Sure.
How do you make sure it is not forced, but it integrates really well?
It will be personalized from person to person. A person can personalize what data it needs to be give the app, what kind of notifications it want, and what how many notifications it can take. We can just personalize it, and plus this is just starting based on the experimental levels. It will be more clear that how can we integrate it on a psychological level.
Any follow-up questions, Team Sandeep?
No.
Okay. Team Flowmakers, any other question, follow-up questions you have?
So in the slide, you mentioned that AI is also helping with the decision making. Can you explain how?
Yes. Okay. So for the decision making part, it is basically providing the suggestions and feedbacks. Like if we are investing on a thing, if a team is investing on a thing, if it is aligned to the priorities or not, if the investment is right or not, for the financial budgets. Also for like doing task, we can it can suggest that if the task that you are completing right now or executing right now, is it prioritized or not, or if it's just a low priority task that you are executing and a high priority task is left behind. Based on that, it will help us in this.
Does that answer your question, Darshna?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's move ahead. But before you end this week's Socratic dialogue, let's have 5 reflections. So who would like to come first for the reflection? Great, Sandeep.
Yeah, so my reflection would be basically understanding this from the point of view of operation is very different compared to from the ideas perspective where you only think about what will work. But here you have to also think how it will work and how you can integrate into lives and basically your operation. So it is much more complex, I guess, in a sense, but that is why I think it can be a fun role as well. So yeah, that is my takeaway from this Socratic dialogue.
Thank you, Sandeep. So, would like to come next for the reflection on today's discussion we had on productivity.
I would like to go next. So,
Great.
from this Socratic dialogue, I will take that productivity is not just about, how many hours we worked or how many contribution we made. It's deeper than that. It's more psychological. It's about how much impact it made and how much impact it created and how much we were able to contribute even as a team or in a financial or growth role as well.
Thank you, Anushri. Over to Parthasarthi for a reflection.
Yeah, in the process of improving productivity, I understood the responsibility of the leader. Not only self-management, the leader have to take the responsibility of the entire team and about their productivity, as well as in psychological aspect. Also, leader has the responsibility to keep the team productive as well as stress-free.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Parthasarthi. So, let's have two more reflections based on the discussion we had.
Okay, my uh, my
Yes,
my
Richa.
reflection was that how important role is of the stockholder in a company, so they can motivate to the youngsters to innovate and play with the new ideas without any hesitation and without any fear of failures, so that they can view the new technology and implement it and build the new progress path. That was my takeaway. Thank you.
So, having the independence to innovate new ideas without having
Yes.
the fear of failure. Great.
Yes.
So, can we have one last reflection before we end this week's Socratic dialogue?
I can go.
Come up, guys. Great, Rashna.
So I think what I learned is that as a CEO, it is very important that your team or your employees are aligned with your vision. It is they are aligned. So it's just as a CEO, you shouldn't like if you just look at the growth of the company, okay, that is important, but you should also look at the growth of the employees which are working, I think. So if the employees are not burnout, if the employees know what they are working on and why they are working on, and if the employee can know what goes wrong and how they can improve in their planning or how they can improve themselves, I think the productivity will come itself. So yeah, these are the things which I learned.
Yeah, so the employees, when they feel heard or taken care of, they obviously will perform better and it will lead to much more productivity. Okay, great. Thank you so much, guys, for being a part of this week's